I mean, just steps into it with every ounce of his body. Perfect right hand. So the fact that Jake Paul wants to fight that guy, hey, I'll watch. I'm going to watch.
I said that you should coach Joshua, and he agreed. He liked the idea. Joshua, Mike Tyson will coach him.
Coach, he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it all.
I think that'd be good.
No sparring, though. No sparring.
What advice would you give to somebody like AJ?
That he has a lot of talent and not to get discouraged. He only loses when he quits. When you quit, all the doors of opportunities close. You know what I mean? You just got to be, you have to be game and then for the don't get discouraged if you lose. Listen, you just lost, you may have got $30 million.
Joe Rogan reacts to Anthony Joshua reportedly training with Mike Tyson, saying it shows how seriously AJ is preparing for the Jake Paul fight. Rogan explains that if Joshua enters with that level of training, he can quickly overwhelm Jake due to the size gap and experience difference. He adds that Jake has never faced a truly serious heavyweight boxer before. So, this matchup puts him in a situation he has never handled.
Not a chance that Anthony Joshua is not going to just lose the weight beforehand. He's not going to come in drained. What he's going to do is just do extra cardio, and that's just going to make him more dangerous. He's going to be terrifying, and he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry that Jake Paul wants to fight him.
Jake talks about shocking the world and inspiring the next generation. But even while he speaks, his tone reveals how he knows the size difference is on another level. He jokes about needing to look upward just to make eye contact with Joshua. Yet, he still tries to maintain the same energy he always uses before big events. He wants people to believe that confidence alone can carry him through a match with a giant who has held major belts and smashed through real opponents. Jake tries to spin the moment by saying that taking on someone this big is the inspiration young fighters need because stepping up with courage shows ambition. Still, the gap between ambition and the truth inside a ring is massive, especially when the opponent is a heavyweight with proven power.
Fight of the year, you, Anthony Joshua, how we doing?
Dude, never been better. This is what I dreamed of. This is what I manifested into reality. I'm here to shock the world, inspire the next generation. We're in the Heat arena. I'm a big Heat fan. Miami's on fire. This is my first pro fight, was in Miami against Gibb. I'm bringing that same energy here. First round KO.
And the Schmo interviewed you there when you fought Gibb. It was on Fight TV. We've been with you along the way. Not very many times you're looking up at a face-off. So what did you make of looking up for one of the very first times at a face-off right here?
Just looking up at Daddy there and just seeing, you know, how big he is, and just my eyes were kind of going into his nipples and stuff, which I kind of liked. And then basically I was just like, whoa, he's big in that. And then, yeah, I can't believe how tall he is.
Is this chain really on the line for the winner?
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I mean, I'm down. But he has to put something up, too. There has to be something in it for me.
You say this is the biggest upset that's going to be in boxing history, right up there with 42-1 with Buster Douglas.
Yep.
What is the headline going to be when you knock this guy out and he's laying on the canvas?
Holy.
The size comparison becomes a major discussion point because Jake has always been known as a solid, strong figure in his own divisions. Yet, when Oladipo speaks, he calls this matchup a proper David versus Goliath moment. Joshua does not just stand taller, he carries a frame that has been built through years of heavyweight training and conditioning. And this makes the visual difference almost shocking when both are seen side by side. Even though Jake has put on weight and muscle, he simply does not match the natural frame of a heavyweight who has been battling men of similar size for years. Oladipo explains that the public will witness a rare clash where a fighter from a smaller background takes on a man who looks like he came out of a different category entirely.
See Jake Paul versus AJ as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220, probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big, big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes. But I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very, very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. This is going to be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ's that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that good. This was prior to him getting beat by Ruiz.
The talk around this matchup begins with people calling it entertainment or a staged show. But the reaction from those who know boxing says otherwise, because Anthony Joshua carries a mindset that does not fit into any plan where things are arranged. His training clips show a heavyweight who is preparing to go inside the ring with clear purpose and no sense of holding back, because this fight is not a showpiece for him. He has spent his career facing real punchers, real contenders, and real pressure. So, he can't enter a ring thinking about putting on a small performance for cameras. On the other side, Jake continues to push a narrative that this event is meant to shock the world. But even then, the difference in reality stands tall. Joshua looks ready to walk in with force and finish every doubt that people keep repeating.
Oh, next month, that is for money, as opposed to boxing. And boxing merit is Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. How much are the boundaries of safety, Frank, being pushed for entertainment purposes here?
No, look, obviously, we are in a dangerous sport. We have to accept that. And obviously, the people looking after Jake Paul, if I was managing or promoting Jake Paul, would I say this is the right move for Jake Paul? Probably not, being completely honest with you. But he's put himself in a position, was Jake Paul Mike Tyson a sensible thing to do? To a 58-year-old man or 60, I'm not sure what Mike is, but was that sensible? Probably not, and I would have said that at the time. But it's the world we live in now, and the reality is a lot of people are going to watch it, but we also at the same time have to make the sport as safe as possible and put everything in place around it to ensure that, and that's what the commission, the Florida State Athletic Commission, will be doing, as will the promoters of the event.
So, I mean, Frank, not to finish on too much of a negative, but it begs the question, if Anthony Joshua ends up inflicting considerable damage on Jake Paul, how much does that reflect on you and Matchroom?
I think we go into the fight, we got offered a proposition to do this fight. Anthony Joshua accepted it. Jake Paul's put himself in a position to take that fight, and that's the reality, Jake Paul. But we all want everything we do in this sport. We want to make it as safe as we possibly can, but we have to accept the risks attached to it.
And this is risky, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it is risky. I think Jake Paul's crazy. I think he's delusional, but respect to him for doing it. And he's getting a load of money.
And Frank, sorry, just to silence all the doubters here, a lot of people saying this can't be real, Anthony Joshua going in there, it must be an exhibition, or Anthony Joshua's it's going to be choreographed and Anthony's going to carry him through a couple of rounds. I know Anthony Joshua, just to silence all those doubters, he's going to go in there to do a job, right?
When Ben Shalom gives his opinion, he expresses clear confusion about how such a match even came together, because the difference in divisions, levels, experience, and risks is too wide. He questions the logic behind putting a man with heavyweight power against someone who is still building his career through smaller matchups. He suggests that this event feels like it exists outside the usual rules of matchmaking, where fighters are built and guided slowly toward bigger competition. In his view, the sport has structure, but this type of pairing does not fit into any normal pattern, which makes him feel the fight carries strange energy. He wonders what the goal is, because Jake faces a man who can hurt him in ways he has never felt and who has faced pressure that Jake cannot imagine.
Look, it's not boxing, so I credit to them and what they're earning and everything around that, and it's almost quite unbelievable that it's happening. But what can I comment on? Like, I'm a boxing promoter. You're talking about a YouTube cruiserweight fight. It doesn't make sense to me. I've got no comment on it, but it's an unbelievable spectacle, and they're going to make a lot of money. But yeah, I'm not the person to ask about that fight.
Chael Sonnen speaks with his typical direct style and says people keep doubting whether the fight will actually happen, but he understands how committed Jake is to making it real. He jokes that Jake would try to call out AJ even on the day of the fight if necessary, but he reminds everyone that this is not how the business operates. Chael explains that Jake is paying for almost everything from press events to promotional activity because he is not only the fighter, he is also the promoter. That means he carries the financial pressure and cannot simply change things last minute or surprise people with sudden calls. Sonnen stresses that Jake created this entire path for himself, and that comes with responsibility because when you run the show, your money, time, and reputation are on the line.